I wasn't expecting anyone that night. Not a call, not a message, definitely not a knock on my door, because by that point, I had already shut the world out. Life had been quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, just empty. The kind of quiet where your thoughts get louder than everything else. That week had been especially heavy. Nothing dramatic from the outside, but inside, something was wearing me down. I had been praying less, thinking more, questioning things I used to be sure about. Even God felt distant, not gone, just quiet. And when heaven goes quiet, your mind starts filling the silence with things it shouldn't. That night, I didn't even turn on the lights. I just sat there in the dark, letting the fan spin above me, listening to nothing. Then I heard it. Knock. Soft. I froze. At first, I thought maybe I imagined it. Then it came again. Knock. Not aggressive, not urgent, just intentional. Nobody visited me unannounced. Nobody even came around like that. So immediately, something felt off. I stood up slowly, walked toward the door, and for a second, I just stood there, listening. Silence. Then I opened it, and she was there, standing under the dim light outside. A woman I had never seen before. She wasn't dressed in anything flashy, simple, calm, but her presence was what caught me. She didn't look lost. She didn't look confused. She looked like she knew exactly where she was and exactly who she came to see. We just stared at each other for a moment. Then she spoke. "Can I come in?" Her voice was soft, but not unsure. There are moments in life where something doesn't make sense, but you still say yes. That was one of them. I stepped aside. She walked in. No hesitation, no awkwardness, like she had been there before. I closed the door behind her, still trying to understand what was happening. She looked around the room slowly, not judging, just observing. Then she sat down, like she belonged there. That unsettled me, not in a dangerous way, in a strange way, because everything about her felt calm, too calm. I finally asked the obvious question. "Do I know you?" She shook her head. "No." That made it worse. "Then how did you find me?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at me like she was deciding how much to say. Then she said something I still cannot forget. "You've been asking God questions, but you don't like the answers." My chest tightened, because that wasn't general. That was specific, very specific. I hadn't told anyone that, not a friend, not family, not even fully in prayer. Just thoughts, private thoughts, the kind you don't say out loud. I stared at her, trying to figure out if this was coincidence, but deep down, I already knew it wasn't. I sat down slowly, across from her. My heart had started beating faster now, not fear, recognition, like something inside me knew this moment mattered. She continued, "You're tired." I swallowed. She didn't stop. "You've been carrying things alone, pretending you're okay, but inside, you're exhausted." My eyes dropped, because it was true, every word. Then she leaned forward slightly and said, "But God hasn't left you." That sentence hit harder than everything else, because that was the one thing I had started to doubt. Not loudly, not boldly, but quietly, dangerously. The kind of doubt that creeps in when prayers feel delayed. I looked back at her. Then how does it feel like he's not there? That question came out before I could stop it. She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, "Because you've been looking for him in noise, and he's been waiting in the quiet." Silence filled the room, but this time it felt different. Not empty, full, heavy, like something was shifting. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out a small folded paper, and handed it to me. I opened it slowly. Inside was a verse. Psalm 46:10. "Be still and know that I am God." My hand started to shake, because earlier that day, I had scrolled past that exact verse, ignored it, didn't even stop to read it fully. Now it was back, in my hands, in my room, from a stranger. I stared at her, trying to figure out if this was coincidence, but deep down, I already knew it wasn't. I sat down slowly, across from her. My heart had started beating faster now, not fear, recognition, like something inside me knew this moment mattered. She continued, "You are not alone like you think you are." Then she opened the door and stepped out. I reached it in seconds, but when I looked outside, she was gone. Not walking away, not at the gate, gone. The street was empty, too empty. My heart was racing now. I stepped out further, looked left, right, nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just silence. I stood there for a long time, trying to make sense of it, but some moments are not meant to be explained. They are meant to be received. I went back inside slowly, closed the door, sat down, and looked at the verse again. Be still. For the first time in a long while, I didn't try to figure everything out. I didn't overthink, I didn't question, I just sat there. And for the first time in weeks, I felt it. Peace. Real peace. Not because everything was fixed, nothing had changed outside, but inside, something had settled. Days later, I tried to ask around, described her. No one knew her, no one had seen her, and honestly, I stopped trying to understand, because what mattered wasn't who she was, it was what God did through her. Sometimes, help doesn't come the way you expect. Sometimes, it shows up quietly, unannounced, in forms you don't recognize. But when it comes, you know. So if you've been feeling alone, if you've been asking questions, if you've been waiting for answers, maybe this is your reminder. God is not absent, He is just not loud. And sometimes, He shows up when you least expect it.
If this story spoke to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, because sometimes the quietest moments are where God speaks the loudest.